I was a professor at St. John's Law School in New York. I was director of its Ron Brown Center for Civil Rights and Economic Development. And the center usually had a reception at the WLS annual meeting. And at the reception, Associate Dean Sandra Tennessee was there, and then Professor Marcelin Burke. And they came, and like a lot of receptions, they closed the reception down. And I had mentioned to them I was actually a semi-finalist at another dean search at another law school in Texas. And Sandra, Associate Dean Tennessee, was actually on the dean search committee. She said I should send her my materials, which I did. And I didn't know until recently that the submission was actually kind of late. So she had to do some kind of finagling to get my papers before the committee. And that's how the story, that's all she wrote, basically. That's the story of how I got here. And so I interviewed, had interviews, 3 sets of interviews. One was with the faculty as a whole. One was with the provost and senior administration, and the other was with the president and the chair of the Board of Trustees at Board of Regents. So I didn't always have interest in being a dean. I am a first-generation college student, the first member of my immediate family to go to law school, and really the first academic in my family. And I frankly didn't know what deans did. But a lot of folks in legal academy saw potential in me and suggested I be dean. And so I took a lot of care with thought and decision-making about doing it, and eventually decided to make the plunge. And I think the difference between being a dean and being a professor is that you have a lot more influence on the whole institution, right? That you're able to shape it, move it in a particular direction. Of course, with the collaboration of the faculty, the staff, the students, and senior administration, but it really makes your influence stronger and bigger, than with just teaching students. You're really able to make the institution grow and develop in a way that is really quite different and remarkable, and to place your imprint on the institution. And to really, when you think about teaching, you're dealing with a couple of students, maybe 50 students, 70 students, 100 students. But when you're the dean of the law school, you're responsible for several hundred students. You're responsible for many faculty members. You're responsible for staff members. And you're able to set the priorities in a way that being a professor, you're not able to do. I was really always intrigued by Houston and the University of Houston Law Center. And I think the things that struck out to me was its really fabulous faculty. They're very, very smart, very talented teachers, great scholars, but also very collegial. The really terrific staff who work very hard and make the place run. And the students who are very diverse, hardworking, many of them first-generation law school students, first-generation Americans, first-generation college students. And all that was something for me seemed like a dream. I think the University of Houston and University of Houston Law Center and University of Houston have this can-do attitude. They take a lot and out of nothing, make a lot out of nothing. And I think that's the advantage of the University of Houston and University of Houston Law Center. And I'm proud to be its dean. One thing I think folks should know is that the dean search interviews are very complicated and very time-consuming and demanding. And that you often are here from very early in the morning to very late at night. And I think the goal is to simulate what a day in the life of a dean would be like, and to see whether you can stand the pressure of all these kinds of different interviews and people asking you lots of questions. And so I think I proved that I'm able to do that during the interview, and hopefully I've been able to show that I've been able to do that over the past 7 years. I think the school remains basically the same. We have the same values, we have the same interests, we want to be the best that we can be. We have really strong faculty, really great staff, great students, and engaged alums. I think the way it has changed is that the alums have become even more engaged. And I've traveled to see alums wherever they may be, whether it's been LA, San Francisco, Austin, Dallas, San Antonio, New York City, Washington, D.C., Denver. I've gone to see alums. And alums have stepped up in their giving, and they're really responsible for helping us get this building, because they've become even more engaged. So I think that's one change. The faculty has gone through transition. We've had a number of faculty retirements, and unfortunately, a few faculty passings. And so the faculty is definitely in transition, and is a younger, newer faculty, but they're similar to the ones who may have moved on in terms of retirement, in that they're hardworking, they're very talented, very intelligent, great scholars and great teachers. And I think the thing about the faculty that's very, very important to note is not only are they all of those things, but they're really compassionate individuals who care deeply about our students and really make a difference in many of our students' lives by giving them the ambition that sometimes they don't have, by giving them the fortitude to go forward, by helping them realize that even though you may be from a first-generation family, doesn't mean that you can't dream big and that things are really possible for all of you if you believe. So I think the faculty stays the same. The staff is top-notch, and some faculty members have actually told me the staff is even better. It's the best staff that we've ever had, senior staff, is what several faculty members have said to me. It's the best staff we've ever had. And the students remain the same. The students are more diverse, they have higher credentials, but they still are the same in terms of their backgrounds. This school has always been a school for first generation, high achievers who want to go places. And even if the complexion of our students may have changed a little bit, they are the same in their temperament, in their ambition, in their desire to succeed, and their ultimate success. And we as an institution, with our faculty, our staff, all our students, and alums, come together to ensure our students' success. The new building will be completed sometime in summer 2022. Actually, it will be coincidentally, will be at the same time of our 75th anniversary. So it's really a great milestone to indicate where we've been and where we're going. And the new law school building will be in contrast to this older building. The new law school building will have a lot of things that we don't currently have in this building. It will be functional, it will have a lobby, it will be a beautiful space, and it will be a testament to the grandeur of the city of Houston, but also the prominence of the University of Houston Law Center. So the process has been a very demanding process, but as has been pointed out, it has been a decades-long dream. And one of the things that was important for me as leader of the Law Center was to make sure that I was collaborating with all the important stakeholders. And the stakeholders involved, the state government, involved the senior administration of the university, involved our alumni, involved our faculty, staff, and students. They all needed to be engaged, they all needed to know what was going on, but also what I realized is that I had to be the cheerleader, and I had to exude confidence that was going to happen, because there were so many fits and starts along the way for the past decades that people didn't believe. People didn't believe it would happen. And I had to inspire. We had to inspire people to believe that this was happening. And because of all these false starts in the past. And as a result, we raised more money than the law school's ever raised. We raised more in philanthropy, $93 million. We raised almost $93 million, more than the law school's ever raised. More from philanthropy, which is over almost $26 million from philanthropy. More from the state legislature than we've ever done. Almost $38 million in the state legislature. And over $30 million from the University of Houston itself. More than we've ever done. But all along the way, people were doubtful. Some were naysayers. People said, we never raised even $1 million. And the alums eventually came together and raised over $12, $13 million. People are still giving to the building, even now. And part of it is that as leader, you have to show, first of all, that you are the leader. And so I gave $50,000 toward the building. Because if I'm asking other people to give to the building, I have to make sure that I set the example for everybody else, number one. Number two is that I knew that it wasn't going to be a straight line. It is never a straight line. Nobody's going to give you, here's $93 million for you. It's never going to be that way. And that wherever happened, I had to assure people that we would be infinitely better off than we are today. And fortunately, it all turned out right. I mean, fortunately, we got the building of our dreams. But it wasn't always necessarily going to be that way because there were a lot of obstacles that were in our way and a lot of things that were totally outside of our control. We don't know what donors are going to do. I mean, we sometimes were asking donors to give a lot of money and they never gave before, right? That's unusual. You know, with the state legislature, we didn't know what was going to happen with that. It's very unpredictable what a state legislature may do. You don't really control those circumstances. And university, the same thing. And so but I think part of it is really making sure that people trust, that they trust in me, trust in the enterprise, that we all have the same values, the same goals to achieve this result. And that's how we got here. And it really was a group effort. I don't want to say it's just me. It's not just me. It's really having a great team in place. Many thanks to the president of the university because her early support made this happen, but we had to show that we were capable of doing our own. Many thanks to the Board of Trustees and Board of Regents for their help and support in building the building. Many thanks to our faculty and staff and alumni, especially our alumni who came forward to make this happen. And many thanks to the state legislature and the governor. All these together, all these individuals together, working collaboratively together, allowed us to achieve this dream, which is one of the biggest things I think in the law school's current history that we've been able to achieve, which is this brand new building, which no one really thought could ever happen. Well, I wouldn't be where I am today, but for the education and specifically the legal education I've received. As you may know, I'm a child of immigrants. Both my parents were born in a small island called St. Vincent and the Grenadines. They came to the United States separately, independently. They didn't know each other in St. Vincent. They met each other in New York City. They both worked in the garment district. And they're really the embodiment of the American dream. They worked very hard. They believed in American values, free enterprise. They started their own business. They went from factory work to owning their own business and became very successful businessmen and women. But they weren't, they weren't educated in a traditional sense. My father both of them were very, very smart. My father did not have a high school education, but he was incredibly great in marketing, great in numbers and math, and my mother had a high school education, was also very, very smart. And so they really wanted all of us, the children, to do very, very well. And I really appreciate all their efforts. But it was the education, by emphasizing education, that made a difference. That think about it from me as an example, that how two immigrants from a small island with only 150,000 people, 150 square miles, how two people from this small island without college educations, without graduate degree education, and my father not even having a high school degree, could produce a Columbia Law School educated lawyer who's now the dean of the leading law school in Houston and one of the leading law schools in the state and the country. That's the power of legal education. It transforms lives. It makes us think smarter. It makes us act better. It makes us consider a wide variety of things in terms of decision making. And most importantly, for many people, it really advances you to the middle class or upper middle class. And that's the power of legal education. And so many of our students are like backgrounds like me. Many of them are children of immigrants. Many of them are first generation college students or first generation law school students. And this law school does exactly what I went through. They make a difference and a change in these students' lives. This law school's always done this from its inception 75 years ago. When you talk to some of those alums from 75 years ago, it's the same story as my story, or almost the same story. The only difference may be I was an immigrant and a person of color, but it's almost the same story as my story. And the students today, it's the same story. They're here to improve their lot in life. They're here to make a difference. They're here to find justice for their client. It's the same story. It's always the same story. And it's the story of the University of Houston Law Center. I think it's important for us to appreciate our past and all the accomplishments we've had in the past. And we certainly have made a multitude of accomplishments and progress in our school and in the students that we teach. But it's also important for us to think about the future. And I think we all want the best for this law school. I know we all want the best for this law school. We're going to be moving into a new building that will provide a sense of modernity, that will provide we'll look and see that the school is a modern institution as opposed to where we are now, where we are in this building. But I think for the next 75 years, we want to continue on the progress. We want to be really strong. We want to raise our rankings in U.S. News and Report. We want to be able to recruit really terrific faculty who write great articles, are great teachers, but also compassionate individuals. We want to recruit more students, better students, stronger students. The students are great, but students with higher credentials. We also have to make sure that we ride the wave, the demographic wave, that we prepare for the students of the future, and the students of the future in Texas, which are going to be more Latino, more Asian American, more African American. So we have to be prepared for the next 75 years to make sure that we are equipped to teach that new generation, that next generation of leaders for the state. And those are the things that we need to do as we look to the future. And so one of the things that we need, if I can be so bold, is we definitely need scholarship dollars, right, for this next generation. Our tuition is about $35,000 a year. Many of the private schools are much higher, but for first-generation college students and first-generation law school students, $35,000 a year is still very expensive. And it prevents us from getting the best students. We get really terrific students, but we aren't able to get the highest caliber students, or we're not able to get as many high caliber students as we'd like, right? So that's a challenge. We're not able to get students who have financial need because other law schools are able to provide them with much more financial aid and much more scholarship dollars. So that's certainly something that we need to think about. And we need to recruit really great faculty, which really also requires dollars to provide them with more chairs and professorships so that we really get the top-notch faculty. We have great faculty now, but we want even more. So my goal for the school for the next 75 years is to be even better, to be even stronger, to be a leader. To be a leader not only in Houston, but a leader in the state and a leader nationwide. To the University of Houston on its 75th anniversary, I hope all your dreams come true, that you continue to be an excellent law school for this city, for the state, and the nation, that you continue to educate really bright students, that you continue to attract the best faculty and staff, and that our alumni remain engaged and continue to be engaged in this enterprise. So on your 75th anniversary, University of Houston Law Center, happy birthday.